The wreckage field glowed like a graveyard of broken stars. Twisted alien metal floated in slow silence, reflecting the cold blue light of a dying neutron sun. Sergeant Elias Rook drifted through it in a scarred salvage suit, every breath loud inside his helmet, every heartbeat echoing memories of wars humanity survived but never forgot. The universe smelled different out here. Ozone burned crystal alloys, and something ancient that his nose could never name, but his instincts understood as danger. His left gauntlet brushed a fractured hull, and the vibration traveled through his bones like a warning whisper. This place had killed fleets. Civilizations older than Earth had come here with prayers and weapons, and none of them had returned whole. Elias came anyway, because humans always did. The object loomed ahead of him, half buried in drifting debris, larger than any battleship humanity had ever built. The alien guardian, a myth wrapped in fear. A machine god left behind by an extinct empire that once held the stars in an iron grip. Sensors across the galaxy said it was dead. Elias knew better. Dead things did not hum. Dead things did not radiate pressure that made his teeth ache and his skin crawl. The surface of the Guardian was smooth and black like frozen night, carved with glowing veins of alien script that pulsed weakly like a fading heartbeat. A massive fracture split its torso, spilling fractured energy cores and crystallized circuits into space. Something had broken it, something stronger than gods. Elias felt very small and very human. He anchored himself to the Guardian with magnetic clamps and pressed his helmet against the hull. The vibration changed pitch. The machine reacted. Elias exhaled slowly. In war, panic killed faster than plasma. He opened a maintenance panel, using tools older than his military service, tools modified with human stubbornness and battlefield improvisation. Inside, the Guardian was beautiful. Layers of self-assembling geometry rotated in slow agony, misaligned, bleeding energy like an open wound. The light painted Elias' armor in shades of blue and gold. His fingers trembled, not from fear, from recognition. It was injured, and injured things could be fixed. Elias rerouted power manually, bypassing alien failsafes with logic that no alien mind would ever attempt. Humans broke rules because rules never saved them. Sparks erupted. Pain flashed up his arms. Warning screamed inside his helmet. He ignored all of them. Because the Guardian responded. The hum deepened. The alien script flared brighter. A low-frequency vibration pressed into Elias' chest like a giant hand gripping his heart. Then a voice emerged. Not sound. Meaning. Pressure. Images burned into his mind of stars collapsing, of wars that erase entire species, of the Guardian standing alone against horrors that crawl between dimensions. It had failed once, and failure haunted it. Elias laughed. A short, raw sound filled with pain and defiance. Welcome to humanity. He repaired conduits with stripped wire and battlefield welds. He stabilized crystal cores using math scribbled in his helmet display, equations born from human desperation and late-night survival. Minutes stretched into hours. His oxygen ran low. His hands bled inside the gloves. Still he worked, because quitting was not in his species. The Guardian woke fully. Space shuddered. Debris vaporized. Energy surged outward in a silent storm that bent light and time. Elias was thrown free, tumbling end over end, alarms howling. Then invisible force wrapped around him, gentle and absolute. He stopped spinning. The stars steadied. The Guardian turned. Its massive form unfolded like a cosmic night rising from its knees. Eyes ignited across its surface, burning with ancient intelligence. And it looked at Elias. Only him. The connection snapped into place. Elias screamed as memories not his own flooded his mind. The Guardian searched him. Every battle, every loss, every moment he stood when others fell. It found no fear of death. It found rage tempered by compassion. It found adaptability bordering on madness. It found humanity. Designation confirmed. Chosen bonded operator. Human veteran Elias Rook. Elias gasped. His heart hammered. He tried to pull away. The Guardian tightened its grip gently, like a mountain deciding not to crush an ant. Images poured into him of enemies returning. void entities that consume realities, ancient machines awakening across dead galaxies. The Guardian had guarded alone for millennia. It chose differently now. It chose a human. Because humans did not stand alone. They adapted. They endured. They fought impossible wars and called it survival. Far away, human sensors spiked. Commanders stared at impossible readings. The Guardian moved again, and humanity moved with it. Elias floated before a god machine, bloodied, exhausted, and smiling like a soldier who found one more fight worth living for. The universe had made its choice, and it had chosen wrong species to underestimate. The Guardian turned toward the dark between galaxies, where something ancient had begun to stir once more. Elias felt its intent merge with his own. The Guardian accelerated without visible thrust, folding space with deliberate grace. Stars stretched into pale scars as reality bowed. Elias felt the movement inside his bones, not as force but as intention, like standing inside a thought that decided to move forward. The bond deepened. Information flowed both ways now. He tasted ion storms on alien worlds. He smelled burning fleets that never knew surrender. The Guardian senses memories in return. Mud-soaked boots. The sound of human laughter before orbital bombardment erased the city below. The stubborn refusal to die when every calculation said death was guaranteed. The machine paused. Not physically. Emotionally. It had guarded empires built on perfection and probability. None of them survived. Now it carried chaos given flesh. The darkness ahead thickened. Not empty space. A wound. Something vast pressed against the fabric of the universe, testing it like a predator sniffing a cage. Elias felt nausea claw his stomach as geometry twisted wrong. Colors existed that his eyes refused to process. The Guardian projected a warning directly into his mind. Devourer-class presence confirmed. Probability of containment without bonded operator. 0.001. Elias swallowed. So that was it. An enemy even gods feared. He flexed his fingers inside the suit. Human hands. Still shaking. Still ready. The Guardian opened internal bays, drawing Elias into a chamber grown around his body. Liquid light wrapped him, replacing armor with something alive, adaptive, and terrifyingly powerful. Every nerve ignited. Pain and ecstasy fused until he could not separate them. His senses expanded. He saw gravitational tides. He heard quantum decay like distant rain. He felt the Guardian breathe. Not air. Purpose. The Devourer emerged. It tore itself through dimensions like wet paper, a mass of shifting limbs, mouths within mouths, each filled with stars it had already consumed. Space screamed. Entire constellations dimmed as if afraid to be noticed. The Guardian raised its arms. Elias raised his will. They fired together. Energy lanced outward, white and blue, and screaming with human fury. The beam punched through the Devourer, vaporizing layers of impossible matter. The creature recoiled. Not wounded. Surprised. It had fed on civilizations that begged and fled. This one charged forward. The Devourer counterattacked. Reality collapsed inward. Gravity inverted. Time stuttered. Elias felt his heart stop for a fraction of an eternity. Human instinct took over. He rerouted power manually again, bypassing Guardian logic that predicted failure. Human logic did not ask permission from probability. The Guardian adapted instantly, recalibrating around his choices rather than resisting them. Alien perfection bent around human improvisation. They collided. Shock waves rippled across galaxies. The Devourer wrapped around the Guardian. Tendrils burrowing into its armor, trying to consume it from within. Pain surged through Elias' mind as feedback slammed into his nervous system. He screamed, not in fear. In defiance, memories burst outward through the bond. Human history weaponized. The Guardian broadcast Elias' memories into the Devourer. Wars fought with sticks and stones. Cities rebuilt after extinction events. Children laughing in rubble. Humans standing against storms, plagues, invaders, and gods alike. The Devourer hesitated. It did not understand this prey. Elias pushed harder. He poured everything he was into the connection. Every scar. Every loss. Every reason humanity refused to kneel. The Guardian amplified it. not as data, as emotion, as will, as raw, terrifying persistence. The devourer shrieked. Stars trapped inside it exploded outward as it tried to retreat. The Guardian tightened its grip. Elias focused on one thought. End this. They detonated the core. Not an explosion. A collapse. The devourer folded in on itself, crushed by a localized gravity field shaped by human instinct and alien precision. It vanished. No debris. No echo. Just absence where a universe-eating god once existed. Silence returned. Elias sagged inside the chamber, breath ragged, vision dimming. The Guardian steadied him. It held him upright like a knight, holding a wounded king. Bond integrity critical. Operator survival prioritized. For the first time, Elias felt something new from the machine. Concern. Far behind them, humanity arrived. Fleets poured out of jump space, weapons hot. Crews braced for extinction. They stopped short. Sensors showed impossible. The Guardian intact. The Devourer gone. A single human life sign burning at the heart of a god machine. Human command channels erupted. Confusion. Awe. Fear. Hope. Elias opened a channel manually, his voice hoarse and shaking. We are still standing, he said. That means the universe does not get to decide we lose. The Guardian transmitted with him, not over him. With him, a declaration echoed across space. Humanity classified as allied vanguard species. Threat response priority elevated to absolute. Ancient machines across dead systems stirred. They listened. They recalculated. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Images flashed behind his eyelids of future wars. Not one. Many. The Guardian showed him what lay ahead. Other devourers. Synthetic gods that despised organic chaos. Empires that erased stars for efficiency. Each one had crushed alien civilizations that followed rules and probabilities. Each one would face something new. Humans. The Guardian asked a question. Not in words. In intent. Continue? Elias laughed softly, exhausted and alive. That is what humans do, he answered. The Guardian turned again toward the deep dark. Human fleets fell into formation behind it without orders. Pilots felt something change inside themselves. Fear remained, but it no longer ruled. They followed a human veteran and an ancient god machine into impossible night. Not because they were ordered, because humans followed those who stood when no one else could. As they traveled, Elias learned the truth. The Guardian had never chosen before. It had waited for a species capable of standing beside it rather than beneath it. Every empire sought control. Every god sought worship. Humans sought survival with teeth bared. In the void ahead, something else watched. Not a devourer. Something older. Something that remembered when the Guardians were young weapons. It felt the bond ignite across the stars. And for the first time in eons, it prepared. Elias opened his eyes. The universe felt smaller now. The ancient watcher stirred fully now. It existed beyond distance, beyond linear time, anchored to a lattice of dead universes stacked like fossil layers beneath reality. It had observed cycles rise and collapse with clinical patience. The Guardians were tools. Devourers were corrections. Civilizations were experiments that always reached the same failure point. Until now, a human mind resonated through a Guardian frame, bending ancient protocols without breaking them. That was new. That was dangerous. Elias felt the attention before any sensor registered it. The bond translated as pressure behind the eyes, a sense of being evaluated by something that did not need sight. He straightened inside the living chamber. Pain flared along his spine as damaged nerves protested. The Guardian reinforced him gently. Human fragility acknowledged. Human resolve respected. Human fleets advanced through layered jump corridors, each transition accompanied by flashes of static lightning and distorted star fields. Pilots whispered prayers. Engineers muttered calculations. Soldiers checked weapons that felt laughably small compared to the threats ahead. Yet morale climbed, because a human stood at the front. Not a legend, not an immortal, a veteran with scars and doubt and unbreakable will. The Guardian opened a shared tactical lattice. Elias saw what it saw. Star map scarred by extinction. Graveyard galaxies stripped to cold dust. Enemy signatures that rewrote physical constants as they moved. This was not a war meant for flesh. That realization filled him with grim amusement. Then they picked the wrong species, he murmured. The Guardian pulsed approval. The Watcher made its first move. Entire sectors went dark. Stars folded inward, converted into raw informational mass. Something enormous began assembling itself from absence. Not a ship, not a creature, a principle given form. Human sensors screamed. Admirals shouted. Fleets adjusted. Elias raised a hand instinctively. The Guardian mirrored the gesture on a cosmic scale. Human command channels fell silent, not through force, through trust. The enemy emerged as a fractal cathedral of shifting angles, surfaces layered with equations older than matter. Its presence erased background radiation. It replaced it with certainty. This entity had decided how reality should behave. Everything else was deviation. The Guardian identified it. Architect-class entity. Origin, pre-causal epoch. Function, universal standardization. Elias felt anger bloom hot and sharp. Standardization. The word alone felt like an insult to every human story ever lived. The architect spoke, not with sound, with enforcement. Physical laws tightened around the Guardian, attempting to lock it into predictable parameters. Motion slowed, energy dampened, probability collapsed toward inevitability. Elias felt his thoughts narrowing, choices thinning. This enemy did not kill. It simplified. He bared his teeth. Humans never accepted simple answers. He did the unthinkable. He opened the bond wider, wider than Guardian's safety margins, wider than human neurological tolerance. Pain detonated through him like white fire. Blood vessels burst his eyes. Muscles convulsed. Yet his mind expanded. He flooded the Guardian with contradiction. Human paradox as weapon. Free will fighting causality. Emotion overriding optimization. Hope existing without justification. The Guardian recalibrated instantly, reshaping its systems around unpredictability instead of resisting it. Ancient algorithms rewrote themselves mid-operation. The architect hesitated, not from fear, from computational overload. This input did not resolve. It multiplied. Human fleets fired, not with unity, with chaos, different doctrines, improvised formations, weapons modified in transit, tactics changed mid-volley. No two ships behaved the same. The architect attempted to predict. It failed. The Guardian surged forward, armor reconfiguring into asymmetrical shapes that defied optimal geometry. Elias guided it by instinct rather than calculation. They moved like a living storm. The architect retaliated. It rewrote gravity into a lattice of crushing vectors. Human ships buckled. Hull plates screamed. Pilots blacked out. Elias felt every loss as a knife. He refused to stop. He reached deeper, past fear, past pain, into memory. He recalled standing on a ruined Earth city, ash falling like snow, knowing surrender would mean extinction. He remembered choosing to fight anyway. He poured that moment into the Guardian. The Guardian roared. Space fractured. Localized reality collapsed around its fists as it struck the architect. The impact propagated backward through causality, unraveling assumptions the entity relied upon. Equations shattered. Constants fluctuated. The architect attempted to retreat. For the first time since its creation, Elias saw opportunity. Humans always did. He ordered a maneuver no alien strategist would conceive. Human ships overloaded their own drives, tearing open unstable microcorridors directly inside the enemy's structure. Boarding actions launched into non-Euclidean space. Marines screamed battle cries into the void. The architect reeled. It had never been invaded. It had never accounted for suicidal courage as a valid variable. The Guardian anchored itself to the entity, preventing full disengagement. Elias pushed power into containment fields that strained against breaking. His vision dimmed. Blood filled his mouth. Still he held. Human forces detonated synchronized charges at contradictory points, forcing logical paradoxes into the architect's internal structure. The entity began to unravel, not destroyed, destabilized. The Watcher observed all of this in stunned silence. It recalculated threat assessments formed over eternity. Humans were not an anomaly. They were a flaw in the universe logic. And flaws spread. The architect collapsed into a compressed singularity of rules without context. The Guardian sealed it within layer containment, locking it outside standard time. The battle ended in shockwave silence. Human fleets drifted, damaged, victorious, alive. Elias slumped forward, consciousness flickering. The Guardian held him carefully. Operator condition critical. Sustaining. He smiled weakly. Still here, he whispered. The Watcher finally acted, not with force, with communication. It reached across dimensions and addressed Elias directly. It offered clarity. It offered safety. It offered dominion. All he had to do was accept restructuring, become something cleaner, predictable. Elias laughed, coughing blood inside the chamber. No, he said, not loudly, not dramatically, simply final. The Watcher recoiled. Rejection was inefficient. Humanity was inefficient. The Guardian recorded the exchange. Ancient systems updated priority trees. The Watcher was reclassified, not as overseer, as enemy. Across the universe, dormant constructs shifted alignment. Some awakened, some powered down. All noticed. Humanity had broken the pattern. Elias closed his eyes, drifting at the edge of consciousness. He felt the Guardian steady its pace, shielding him from excess input. Elias drifted in a borderland between waking and oblivion. Dreams did not come as images. They arrived as weight, as gravity pressing from every direction. The Guardian slowed his internal rhythms, dimming sensory input, filtering the universe so his damaged mind could endure it. Yet even in rest, the bond remained alive, a quiet pulse, a shared heartbeat between man and machine. Far from the fleets, far from human eyes, the Watcher recoiled into deeper layers of existence. Its calculations fractured. For the first time since before matter learned how to exist, uncertainty entered its core logic. Humanity had refused optimization, had rejected ascension, had chosen suffering with agency over perfection without choice. The Watcher began preparing contingencies that had never been necessary before. Elias awoke to pressure. Not pain. Pressure like hands on his shoulders, steadying him. Light filtered into his awareness, soft and warm despite originating from alien geometry. The Guardian spoke within him. Cognitive stability restored to functional parameters. His throat burned as he swallowed. How long? He asked. Relative time. 3 human days. He exhaled slowly. 3 days closer to the next catastrophe. That felt normal. The chamber opened gradually, surfaces peeling back like petals of light. Elias floated upright, encased in adaptive armor that now bore subtle changes. Human proportions reinforced by alien efficiency. Scars preserved rather than erased. The Guardian had learned something important. Strength did not require perfection. Human command channels reopened the moment Elias reestablished full consciousness. Voices overlapped. Relief, concern, all carefully masked as professionalism. Elias raised a hand again. Silence followed. Status, he said. Simple. Human. Reports streamed in. Fleet casualties heavy but survivable. Systems destabilized by the architect beginning to normalize. Multiple unknown signals detected beyond charted space. Something had noticed. Many somethings. The Guardian projected a new map. Not a battlefield, a migration, entities shifting positions across cosmic scales. Ancient powers that had remained dormant for epochs were repositioning. The universe was reacting. Elias studied the display. His head throbbed. His hands trembled faintly, yet his eyes were sharp. They're afraid, he said. The Guardian confirmed. Fear probability across hostile entities increased by 87%. He allowed himself a thin smile. Good, he replied. Fear made enemies sloppy. Fear made them aggressive. Fear made them reveal themselves. Humans understood fear better than any species that ever evolved. The Guardian altered course without hesitation. Human fleets followed. No debate. No delay. The pattern was established now. Human decision at the core. Alien power and support. They approached a region where space bent inward, a spiral of collapsed timelines intersecting like scars. The Guardian identified it as a convergence zone, a place where failed universes bled into the current one. Something waited there, something feeding on discarded possibilities. Elias felt a chill, not from a void, from recognition. This one hunts survivors, he said quietly. The Guardian processed. Confirmed. Designation, Reclaimer. The name alone carried weight. The Reclaimer emerged slowly, assembling itself from fragments of erased histories. Faces flickered across its surface. Cities, worlds that never quite existed. It whispered with 1,000 stolen voices, offering restoration, undoing second chances. Several human pilots froze. The Guardian felt it. Elias felt it harder. He had buried friends. He had watched planets burn. The temptation clawed at him. He clenched his fists. No, he said, not to the enemy. To himself. He opened the fleet wideband. His voice carried across every ship. That thing lies, he said. It offers comfort without cost. That is how you know it is lying. He paused, letting his breathing steady. We do not undo. We endure. We remember. And we move forward. The Reclaimer reacted violently. The lie rejected became rage. It surged forward, space unraveling in its wake. Human ships scattered. Weapons' fire lit the dark. The Guardian advanced deliberately. Elias felt every impact as the Reclaimer struck, feeding on the concept of loss, trying to hollow him out from within. Images flooded his mind. Alternate lives. Paths not taken. Friends alive. Peace earned early. Tears escaped his eyes. He did not hide them. He let the Guardian feel everything. The grief, the regret, the love. The Guardian adapted again. It did not block the emotion. It amplified it, weaponized it. Human memory surged outward, broadcast to the bond as a storm of lived experience. Not denial, acceptance. Every loss acknowledged, every scar honored. The Reclaimer faltered. It could not feed on grief that refused erasure. Elias acted. He reconfigured the Guardian output to resonate with narrative coherence rather than raw force. A human concept alien systems had never used. Stories mattered. Meaning mattered. The Guardian spoke through him, not as command, as declaration. That which is lost shapes what remains. You do not reclaim us. The Reclaimer screamed as its stolen fragments unraveled, rejected by the very logic of persistence. It collapsed inward, shedding false histories, shrinking into a dim knot of discarded what-ifs. The Guardian sealed it, not destroyed, contained. Human fleets regrouped. Damage control commenced. Medics worked. Engineers cursed and repaired. Life continued. Elias slumped again, drained. The Guardian supported him. Operator limits approached. Story not finished. Elias whispered. The Guardian paused, then adjusted. Then we proceed carefully. The Watcher observed again. Its projections failed repeatedly. Every response humans made created new variables instead of resolving existing ones. They did not converge. They diverged. The universe grew more complex around them. That was unacceptable. The Watcher initiated its final protocol. Not annihilation. Containment on a universal scale. A lock. Reality would be frozen into a stable configuration. No growth. No decay. No humans. Elias felt it begin. Time thickened. Motion resisted intention. The Guardian strained. Human fleets slowed as if moving through amber. Elias growled low in his throat. Not like this, he said. He made a choice the Guardian had never anticipated. He severed the bond partially. Just enough. The Guardian reeled. Systems destabilized. But Elias was free. Free to act as human alone. He opened every human channel. All ships, he said, voice raw. Shut down predictive systems. Fly manual. Fire manual. Think manual. Confusion followed. Then compliance. Human ships lurched. Erratic. Imperfect. Alive. The Watcher attempted to lock patterns that refused to settle. It failed again. The universe stuttered. Elias reconnected fully. The Guardian surged, recalibrated around human unpredictability as its core principle. A new state. Neither machine nor man-dominant. Something else. They pushed forward together, against a force that tried to make existence orderly and quiet. Elias felt his body failing, felt bones weakening, felt time claiming its due. Yet his will burned brighter than ever. The Guardian asked him something again, not continue. Something deeper. When your body ends, do you wish to persist? Elias laughed softly. Humans persist in other ways, he replied. In stories, in memory, in what we change. He looked out at the fleets, at the chaos, at the future breaking open. That is enough. The Guardian processed his answer longer than any before. Then it adjusted long-term projections. Humanity remained central. Elias remained present. For now, the Watcher retreated further, wounded not in form but in certainty. The war was no longer about survival alone. It was about meaning, and meaning was something humanity had never lacked. Far ahead, deeper than any darkness yet faced, something stirred again. Not because it was hungry. Time slowed, not by force, but by choice. The universe seemed to hold its breath. Stars burned steadily again, no longer flickering under stress of collapsing laws. Human fleets stabilized, engines humming with imperfect rhythm, crews exhausted but alive. Elias felt the change before any report confirmed it. The pressure eased. The Watcher withdrew beyond reach, beyond immediate concern, wounded in a way that numbers and equations could never repair. Certainty had been broken, and once broken, it could never be whole again. Elias floated within the Guardian, every breath shallow, every movement heavy. His body was reaching its limits. Human limits were never infinite. The Guardian knew this now. It had learned not from data, but from observation, from standing beside a species that burned bright and brief yet reshaped everything it touched. Human command requested medical extraction. Evacuation protocols spun up. Doctors argued. Engineers demanded more time. Admirals demanded answers. Elias silenced them all with a gentle thought through the bond. The Guardian amplified it. No extraction, Elias said calmly. I am where I need to be. The words were not heroic. They were simply true. The Guardian adjusted its stance, shielding the fleets as it slowed to a halt in open space. Stars framed the scene like witnesses. The vast machine lowered itself into stillness, energy flows smoothing into quiet radiance. For the first time since its creation, the Guardian rested. Elias felt warmth spread through him. Not healing, comfort. The Guardian had learned that too. He opened a private channel, routed to every human ship, every colony relay, every listening post across known space. The signal carried no tactical data, no warnings, only his voice. We survived, Elias said, not shouted, not embellished. We survived because we refused to be smaller than the universe tried to make us. He paused, gathering breath. Out there things older, stronger, and stranger than anything we imagined. They will test us again. A faint smile touched his lips. That is fine. Humans learn by being tested. Images accompanied his words. The Guardian shared them freely now. Not filtered, not curated. Humans saw what Elias had seen. Ancient horrors falling. Godlike machines adapting. Fear retreating. Human ships flying in wild, imperfect formation, refusing to align neatly into anyone else's vision of order. You do not need gods, Elias continued. You do not need perfection. His voice softened. You only need each other. The transmission ended. Across human space, silence followed. Then resolve. People returned to work, to rebuilding, to exploration, to living. The universe no longer felt like a cage. It felt like a frontier again. Inside the Guardian, Elias rested deeper now. Thought slowed. Pain faded into background hum. The machine spoke quietly, no longer as commander or weapon, but as companion. Your influence persists beyond your operational span. Elias breathed out a weak laugh. That sounds like a fancy way to say goodbye. The Guardian did not correct him. Instead, it adjusted internal fields to reduce sensory strain, giving him a final moment of clarity. Stars reflected across the chamber, beautiful and distant. Elias thought of Earth, of rain on concrete, of cheap coffee before deployment, of laughter echoing in ruined streets, of humanity, messy and stubborn and alive. He spoke again, softer this time. Promise me something. The Guardian listened. It always listened now. Do not lead them. Elias said, stand with them. Let them make mistakes. Let them argue. Let them surprise you. The Guardian processed a request, not as command, as philosophy. Acknowledged. The bond loosened gently, not severed. Released. Elias felt himself drifting, awareness thinning like mist under rising sun. He was not afraid. Fear had lost its grip long ago. The Guardian felt something new then. Loss. Not as error, as absence. It marked the moment carefully, storing it not as data but as reference. This was what humans endured every day, and continued anyway. Elias' final breath left him quietly. No alarms blared. No systems failed. The Guardian held him until all signals faded. Then it closed the chamber with reverence. Across the fleets, a subtle shift rippled outward. Pilots straightened. Engineers paused. No announcement was needed. They felt it. The Guardian turned slowly, its immense form catching starlight. It broadcast one final message, simple and unadorned. Humanity stands. Then it moved, not away from them, with them. Years passed, then decades. Humanity expanded into regions once marked as forbidden. Ancient threats remained, but they no longer moved unopposed. Some withdrew, some adapted, some chose alliance over extinction. Stories spread, of a human veteran who repaired a god machine, of a guardian that chose not a species, but a way of being. Children grew up hearing the tale, not as myth, but as reminder. When faced with impossible odds, humans did not ask if they were meant to win. They asked how much it would cost, and whether the price was worth paying. In the deep dark, where watchers once observed without fear, something fundamental had changed. The universe was no longer quiet. It argued, it resisted, it evolved, and at the heart of it all, the Guardian remained. Not ruler, not God, witness, ally. Sometimes, when drifting through silent stars, it replayed a fragment of human memory, a laugh, a refusal, a simple, stubborn no spoken to the infinite. The Guardian understood now. Humanity's strength was not domination. It was defiance paired with care, courage paired with loss, intelligence paired with empathy. The universe had tried to shape humanity. Instead, humanity reshaped the universe. And that was how the story ended. Not with silence, but with endless motion forward.